Well, hello, YouTube. Bill the Patriot here. I'm sure as many of you saw on social media the last couple of days that the Democrats voted to allow illegal immigrants the right to vote. As you can probably tell, knowing me, I was a little upset when I saw that headline. So I decided to look into it a little bit, and I'm going to break it down for you because, as you know, not everything you see on the internet is true. For the most part, it's only partial truth, especially the headlines. So what actually is going on is that the House of Representatives passed H.R. 1 March 8th, which is a bill that was designed to combat political corruption and increase voter participation, according to the DNC members. It broke down into three basic categories: campaign reform, which the main focus was on not allowing unions and big companies to basically control elections and give too much money. The bill is basically 6-to-1 donations that they're allowed to match. So if I donate $100, the most they can donate on my behalf is match it up to $600. So I guess that's a good thing. The other part of it was government ethics, such as disclosing tax returns for presidents, vice presidents over the last 10 years, because people are a little upset that Trump didn't do that, and not using taxpayer dollars to cover up sexual harassment claims, which I'm sure that all of us are perfectly happy with that. I don't have a problem with that. I'm sure most people don't. The third was voter rights and setting up automatic voter registration once somebody turns 18, making an election day national holiday, voting to restore prior felons their right to vote. So yeah, all of that sounded pretty good. I'm sure that most of us could have got behind that and not have a problem with it. And then in comes Dan Crenshaw, Texas representative, American badass, Navy SEAL. Seriously, if you don't know who this guy is, look him up. He's sick. So yeah, he comes in, and what Crenshaw says is that he wants to make a motion to recommit the bill, which is basically to add amendments to it. They vote, yes, we'll do this kind of stuff. We'll add an amendment to it. And all that he was looking for was he wanted to add an amendment that condemns the rights of illegals to vote. So illegal immigrants not to be able to vote. That's what he wanted to add to the bill. Currently, the illegal immigrants are allowed to vote in 12 different areas of our country. Chicago and San Francisco being two of the places that are among that. I'm sure you're not shocked about San Francisco. I sure was not. They're not allowed to vote on the federal level, just the state level, just the city stuff. But either way, yes, they're allowed to vote. 12 different districts in the United States as of right now. So that's all Crenshaw wanted to do. He wanted to add an amendment to this bill saying illegals should not have the right to vote. Seems pretty straightforward. But what happened was that 227 Democrats of the 235 that are in the House of Representatives voted not to allow that amendment. One Republican also voted to not allow that amendment, and they passed it through. So while the headline was a little bit misleading that the Democrats voted to allow illegals the right to vote, there is some truth in it. They didn't vote to allow them the right to vote on other things, but the continued right to vote where they're already allowed to vote. So my question is, while there is a little bit of truth in it, why would that not be allowed, to make that amendment to what seems like a pretty good bill that I would assume most of us could get behind? Obviously, I think that there's a hidden agenda behind it, because if that amendment was added to this bill, it's going to make it a little more difficult in the future to allow illegal immigrants the right to vote. I believe, this is just my personal opinion, that the DNC would love for every single one of these illegal immigrants to vote in any election they can, and with all the way up to, let's be honest, the presidential election. If it's just on state elections, then I would think that some people probably wouldn't have a problem with it. But if you think about it, even in state elections, you're voting for senators, you're voting for House of Representatives, you're voting for members of Congress that eventually will run for president one day, or the possibility of it. So I think there's a hidden agenda behind it. again, while the headline was completely misleading, there is a little bit of truth in it. So basically, hopefully I cleared that up. What I'm trying to do with this is, again, when I saw it, I was immediately enraged. I was thinking to myself, I can't, it wasn't unplausible to me. I thought for sure, I'm like, yeah, it sounds like something the Dems would do. But instead of getting on here and getting in front of you and being outraged by it, I did my research. I think that especially with social media in these days, especially with the internet, especially with the agenda on both sides, I'll admit that, of just people reading headlines because we're looking for that quick news. Do your research, people. Do your research. You read a headline, if it seems like it's plausible, just double check into it. It doesn't take a lot, but yeah, double check into it. So again, what's the hidden agenda behind this? I don't know. We might find out in months to come. We might find out in years to come. But I believe that eventually the Democrats are going to try to get illegals the right to vote. Because they're the ones that like to give the free handouts and know that that is job security for them. Get those illegals to vote. In my personal opinion, I don't think that you should be voting on anything. I wouldn't even want to take a survey if I was in another country. I would feel like, no, why does my opinion matter? I'm here on vacation. It's like a house guest walking into your house to a party. Maybe you didn't even invite them. They're a friend of a friend. They complain that the dog is on the couch while the dog lives in this house, and then decide we should have a vote on it. No, you shouldn't. If you don't like it, get out. You know where the door's at. So just my personal opinion. Again, do your research, people. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight on the bill that was passed and let you know that while the Dems, in my opinion, are on the wrong side of what they're doing in this part, they were not quite as wrong as we all suspected they were. So Bill the Patriot here saying, God bless President Trump, God bless America, and I'll see you next time.